Depending on what section of the internet you come across, the Hell's Paradise anime is either just another run-of-the-mill action fantasy, or an anime capable of wrestling off against Demon Slayer and Oshinoko, the two other heavy hitters of this season. Although there is one consensus, as of finishing episode 8, this anime is severely lacking passion. Lately, I felt frustration with the state of the Hell's Paradise anime. Stellar voice acting and color designs are the crutches this anime can hold itself up on. But when we take a closer look at the foundations, we see the repeated wear and tear of the animation taking its toll on the anime as a whole. Since the third episode, I've almost felt this lackluster attempt on animation, particularly in the fighting. I know that one of the first fights Gabimaru encounters against the Twisted Tango Man is supposed to be a fade-out, and we as the audience are meant to see the results of the fight to showcase how strong Gabimaru is compared to the other criminals, without going full force. But if the Rokuroda fight has taught us anything, it's that the animation in relation to the fighting is feeling a bit hollow. Even before the official release of the first episode, fans were cheering on the saturated colors of the island through its forestry. The only issue is that Hell's Paradise isn't known for its colors. I've mentioned this topic before, but I think it's just that important. The colors are merely masquerading as good animation. The reason the colorful flowers always look great is because they're still images where animators don't have to worry about animating their fighting stances or their expressions. The Hell's Paradise manga was just black and white. Color wasn't that important. Rather, the concept of people turning into flowers was what caught our attention in the first place. The color never fails the audience watcher, as it has consistently been great throughout the anime. But colors aren't our focal point. Hell's Paradise is known for its action. It's known for its do-or-die situations that, fortunately enough, Episode 8 has been able to replicate. Dare I say that Episode 8 so far has been Hell's Paradise's best episode this season so far, but honestly that's not saying much. This is especially intriguing considering that the next major fight of this season will probably be more colorful and fair. Now I'll go off on a tangent and speak on the elephant in the room. What the hell is going on with Mappa while making this anime? I've been hearing several online claims that the schedule for working on Hell's Paradise was short, meaning that there wasn't enough time to actually work on it. There's also been another claim of directors being switched in and out. These two claims could quite possibly explain the lackluster fight between Rokuroda and Sagiri, because by all means the fight was one huge letdown compared to the manga. I understand that you may give leniency for an anime adaptation to not follow it strictly to the manga, but if this is the case, could you agree with me that there could have been an anime adaptation but could have been postponed for the studio to actually have time to animate it properly? Mappa is currently being pulled by all sides as it has to deal with the production of Jujutsu Kaisen, a show which has shown a much larger and global fanbase, Vinland Saga, which is clearly receiving the A-Team's work currently this season, the colossal Attack on Titan's final season, and the eventual next arc of Chainsaw Man, which is more than likely being worked on as we speak. It sucks to say, but we have to admit that Hell's Paradise is receiving the scraps of all these other productions. I hate that because I believed this anime would have really taken off, but has now been handicapped with an abysmal first few episodes. Fortunately, if we are to believe information outlets that this latest episode was produced by the same people who did Attack on Titan, then maybe we can hope for a more interesting next episode. Next episode is arguably the only chance, well, more like the last chance for this first season, for Hell's Paradise to really flex its fighting choreography. I tried to map out the final episodes of the anime to the manga chapters, so I don't really know what event the producers still want to end on. Most likely, I believe it's going to be on a big reveal of the main antagonists. But let's shift away from production problems and letdowns and let's try to focus back on episode 8 again. The Tenza and Zujin fight in the manga is one of the first major fights of the series. While both Aza and Toma get bodied by the blonde Tensen, we never receive an actual proper fight. Tenza is one of the first individuals to actually fight against a Tensen and deliver crippling blows, only for him to realize the enemy is far stronger than he is. For me, it's one of my favorite events in the manga, because up until this point, the main skirmishes we've had were against either criminals or the island inhabitants, which were just mainly bugs or talking fish monsters. The Tensen are a different breed of entity, as you really understand how futile it is to fight them. A friend of mine mentioned to me that you really like this fight because it's an underdog fight. Tenza is the guy who is trying to protect his future wife and master while getting more holes in him like Swiss cheese. It's tragically one-sided. We even get a signature attack, only for him to realize that Zujin has adapted to his swordplay and beats him at it. While the anime tries to evoke this feeling of desperation, which it does to an extent, the manga's grittiness and heavily emphasized lines show Tenza's passion to keep fighting, without the animation bringing it down. More importantly, Episode 8 did something that I was extremely worried about even before watching the Hell's Paradise anime. You see, in the manga, Tenza barely gets screen time. In fact, the only scene we get of him before dying is when he's escaping with Nurugai towards the ocean but finds themselves blocked off by some underwater monster. After that, it's straight to getting killed off. Rarely, an anime will add in new material, aside from the source material, and elevate characters or the series itself. I'm very happy to say that Episode 8 did this same exact thing. Aside from only some panels we receive in the manga, Tenza and Shion didn't really get much backstory towards their relationship. This has changed as the anime includes new scenes that expand on these characters. We learn that Shion, due to one of his own pupils heading off a righteous path, is then designated as a criminal, and he is forced to execute him. I think this particular scene adds so much to the character and the world of Hell's Paradise. The Yamada Asaemon clan are a peculiar group of individuals. It is through Shion's slight hesitation on killing his pupil that shows us they have no agency in their decision-making. They understand that the rules are meant to be followed, thus ensuring Shion killed his prior student. The Yamada Asaemon are a mixed bag who all have their own beliefs on either following the rules or being more practical. Consider Kisho, a Yamada Asaemon who was ready to get the fuck out of this island after his criminal died. He understands his role and doesn't want to be some hero to find the elixir. Consider Sagiri, a character who probably had to diligently follow the rules as she was a woman, and breaking these rules would mean insubordination and being made an example out of because she was a woman. Shion is a character who believes in the rules, but is more practical to the situation on the island. Why the hell would you have your criminal tied up when there's these regenerating plant monsters on your tail? Also, it's clear that even if you break the rules on the island, no one is going to probably hear about it back home. Shion trusts his pupil Tenza over the stupid rules. He's happy that Tenza, a delinquent from the past, has grown into a fine man capable of wanting to protect someone else. This anime was able to expand on why Shion felt so aggravated, knowing that in now 2 confirmed cases he was forced to watch his own pupil get killed right before his eyes. It's tragic because they couldn't do anything to change it. It's one of the reasons why he has a compelling story now where he has this burning desire to murder the Tensen for killing his student. This situation reminds me of when Rengoku sacrificed himself in Demon Slayer. It's these small subversions generally seen in shonen that makes Hell's Paradise stand out. It would be as if Tanjiro died for the sake of Rengoku. It's rare to see the master have to outlive his student, and I really tried to come up with earlier examples in shonen, but I actually came up blank. Nurugai at this point is now up in the air as a character. She expressed a burning desire to live for her people, but seeing as her groom-to-be was now murdered, we can only wait to see how she adapts to the situation. Both Nurugai and Shion are tied together through one irreplaceable person, and so we see how they mesh together and how they go about surviving the island. If anything, this episode had one amazing standout: the soundtrack and the brief glimpses of action. There are some janky animations after the fight concluded with Nurugai's face that was a bit odd and caught my attention. Also, the running throughout this entire anime just feels so off, probably because it's the same 3 frames of running being used, but aside from that, the sound effects were used excellently. I was really happy to hear the actual pain of coughing up blood, which is something I've never really heard of. It usually just sounds like someone's coughing up spit, but this is the first time it just sounds like blood. It's a very visceral sound, literally coughing up yourself through your mouth, but even the punches and screaming were done so well, I think it was the best animated scene shown in Hell's Paradise so far. Like, it's just really, really good, and that's probably because the last few episodes haven't been that great. I'm glad we took a break away from Gabimaru and the gang, but I'm now equally worried about the 2 brothers who got KO'd and need to find some way off the island. Also, I do like how they gave Aizen like a few more minutes of screen time, aside from his death. Really showed that rank number 1 Yamada Asaemon vibes as the leader who consoles the confused fledglings. Anyway, I think that wraps it up for this video. This is a working format that I like using for these episode breakdowns because I can just say what's on my mind without being constrained by a particular format. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing for more episode breakdowns and a longer form video that's coming out very soon. Maybe give it 2 weeks. If you're a returning viewer, then leave a like. Those are greatly appreciated. I look hopefully for when we meet next week, as the next major fight of Hell's Paradise is about to happen, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it blows us away.